Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here today. This is our 7th of 8 webinar where we've titled Kentucky Inspired, Bringing Justice Back to Our Bodies. Today is Friday, December 18th, 2020. I'm so glad you're here with us this afternoon. My name is Rochelle Seeger. I work at the Foundation for a Healthy Kentucky. The Foundation's mission is to address the unmet health needs of Kentuckians. We do that by developing and influencing policy, improving access to care, reducing health risks and disparities, and promoting health equity. The values the Foundation holds are integrity, respect, effectiveness, leadership, policy equity, and collaboration. And this final value, collaboration, is at the heart of this training series that we call Health for a Change. Health for a Change was begun by the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky in 2011 to support the work of health advocates across the state who are working to improve health in Kentucky. And it's been such an honor to partner with a fantastic group of organizations from Paducah to Whitesburg to Northern Kentucky, and really learn from all of their expertise on what they're doing in Kentucky to improve health. This webinar is being recorded, and you can find out more about the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky at its website, healthy-ky.org. And the events tab will have a listing of upcoming events for the Foundation, including this series and the archive of the recorded events, Health for a Change. I want to make mention of 2 upcoming events in January that the Foundation is hosting. One is the Memorial Howard L. Boast Health Policy Forum. And the next event in that series is on Monday, January 11th. That free webinar will be on vaping and substance abuse in youth. Again, you can go to the events tab on our website, healthy-ky.org, under Boast Health Policy Forum to find the registration link and more information about that event. Second, by a Foundation partner, the Kentucky Psychological Association, Dr. Sheila Schuster will be leading an effective advocacy, Every Voice Counts webinar. This free webinar is by the Advocacy Action Network and Kentucky Psychological Foundation, also on Monday, January 11th, earlier in the morning. So you do have time on your schedule. You can join both events. You can find the registration page on the events tab at the Kentucky Psychological Association, that's kpa.org. And finally, Rochelle Seeger, I'm very honored to be working at the Foundation for a Healthy Kentucky. I welcome your ideas on trainings in 2021 for this series, and I am thrilled to turn it over to Dr. Cree Dye.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you all. I'm excited for session 7. And in particular, Rochelle invited me to share a little bit about bringing justice back to our bodies, but a leader edition, meaning how can the tools that we've been discussing and using, how can we take that into a space that we may be leading with a group of people, whether it's a meeting or it's a webinar or a workshop or a classroom, how can we take that into spaces with groups? I will also tell you all this, that I'm not in you probably noticed I'm not in my work office, but when I'm usually not in my office, the internet can become kind of sketchy sometimes. So I will ask if it gets to a point at any time where it's hard to hear me, just put an exclamation point in the chat so that I can just sit down, slow down, breathe, and let the internet be my friend. And that's what we'll just keep inviting the internet to do every time things don't seem to be clear. So let's start with our slides. If you've been with me before, you hear me talk about this. I sense, I feel, I analyze, and I reconcile. So I want to invite us and allow ourselves, as we bring justice back to our bodies, one, to notice anything that comes up for you. Okay. Hopefully you can hear me now. I'm going to invite the internet to be my friend, and hopefully you all can hear me again. If you can hear me clearly, Rochelle, can you put a K in the chat? Excellent. You all, thank you. And this is the perfect time for us to practice patience and practice using our breath. Thank you so much, you all. So I noticed right when I got that exclamation point that I got a little warm inside. I sense, I feel, I analyze, I reconcile. Inviting that to our bodies, inviting us to connect with our breaths and breath. And I want to share with you all, if you were in a setting where it could be a small group or large group, here's some tools that I do, some techniques that I use in order to connect us. So here's how I approach when I'm working with groups as a leader. You'll see the first word I have is groundedness, right? So here are my 3 things that I always go to: groundedness, attune the room, and narratives. So I like for us to start with groundedness. And I'm really big on grounding myself when I know that I'm going to be in a room with a group of people, because we all know that we all come into the room with a level of energy, and all these varied energies coming into a room can sometimes cause you to feel a little ungrounded or even a little scattered. So I'd like for us to practice right now grounding ourselves, and I'll show you all some things that I do to help ground the group. So let's get ourselves grounded first. And I'm actually going to do something different to practice that. First thing, unsettled people, unsettled people. So for example, if I'm the leader, if I'm the one that's leading the small group or teaching in a classroom or even working with 2 other people, if I'm unsettled, then it's likely that the individuals will become unsettled, because we were wired for co-regulation, right, you all? So usually, I bet you can even acknowledge that there's times where you're in a room with people, and if the leader is anxious or nervous or kind of scattered, then you kind of start to feel that same way. So unsettled people, unsettled people. I want to practice first, starting with groundedness, making our groundedness as large as possible. That's what I call it. I need to make my groundedness as large as possible, meaning I need to cover as much ground in connection to Mother Earth that I can. So let's practice. Making your groundedness as large as possible. I want to invite everybody just to roll their shoulders back and down and lengthen your spine. Gently close your eyes. And just begin to notice your breath. Bringing yourself into this moment, family. Allow yourself to notice the place where your feet are making connection with Mother Earth. And on the next breath in, imagine that your breath is coming up with breath, take your breath all the way up to the crown of your head. And then as you exhale, exhale down the back of you and let your breath go all the way back down. It's kind of like you're creating a little cocoon connecting you to Mother Earth. All right, let's take the breath in again. This time we're going to imagine that the breath is coming up along the sides of our bodies. So inhale, take the breath up along the sides of your body, all the way to the crown. And as you exhale, allow it to exhale around the front and the back side of you, going all the way down. Feel the breath here. And then everybody gently bring your hands down to your belly. And I want you to imagine in your mind, I want you to use your inside voice, meaning the inside of you, use your inside voice, and we're going to make the sound of Om. So in your mind, with your hands on your belly, I want you to imagine that around the belly, in your mind, the sound in your body is saying, ah. You're welcome to say it out loud if you like. We're just saying, ah, with our hands on our belly. We're just making our groundedness as large as possible. And usually we say the sound on the exhale. So we inhale real big, and then ah, in our belly area, yes. Now everybody gently float your hands up to your chest. And in your chest area, we're going to say the sound of ah. So we're going ah, oh, right? So ah, oh. With the chest area, we're going ah, 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 oh. So do that again and see if you can feel it in your chest and go, oh, yes. So you're just grounding yourself, connecting you to the sound of Om. And then we're going to move it up. Everybody place your hands on the sides of your head. And then the last sound we're going to make is So place your hands gently on the side of your head and just go with the exhale, inhale, and then And then all together, family, which like we're going to say the sound Om, and we're taking it from our belly to our chest to our heads. Y'all ready to do this? Be curious and courageous, you all. Just try it out. Just try it out with me if you've never Om before. It's a simple sound. Here we go. And then the sound of exhale. Om. Everybody close your eyes and just feel that in your body. Making yourself make your groundedness as large as you possibly can. And using the sound of Om, a lot of people describe the sound of Om as the sound of the universe. It's the first word of babies when they say Ma, there's this in it. And it's a direct way to create a sense of peace and connection and calm over your body and connect you back to you and to Mother Earth. So for me, when in doubt, I usually chant Om, which it's the single most direct way to get back to my heart and to spread my groundedness, so myself grounded. So if you feel comfortable Oming by yourself or even Oming with a group, the Om also connects us collectively. So when you Om with a group, there's this connection that happens with each other and attunement that happens. And I'm going to talk a little bit about attunement. All right, here we go. So in the PowerPoint slide that will be on the website, you'll see, I just gave a little image here of just what Om is and what it represents. It's not worshiping any particular gods. It's not aligned simply with any particular religious practices. Om is actually, Sanskrit, the Sanskrit language is actually pre-religion. And so the sound of Om is, our indigenous people would say that sound is the earth rotating on axes. And when we Om together, we're just coming back to our natural states, okay? All right. So the second thing I share with you that I do when I'm with a group is attunement. So attuning with that group that you are with. It's important that the person who is up leading the group is able to connect and attune with the group. And because most of us have been on Zoom or been on computers, there's one attunement activity that I like to do when in front of the screen. I'll share with us some things that I do in person, but here's something for us. If you are in a group and if you're leading a group in front of the screen, here's what I like to do. You know, last session, I talked about how the eyes are the lamp of our body, yes? And so I want to share with you all an activity that I do where we can connect with our lamps during this time of virtual connections. Okay, here's a slide of a group that I was with and we did the activity and I call it eye gazing. So if you are in a group, so I'm going to imagine that all of you see this image that I have before me. You might see me right there in the middle with my little light, my little lamp. You might see me in the middle, but I want us to imagine if we were all looking at each other's eyes like most of us are during a Zoom session. And after we've taken our break, remember I talked about taking a break. Activity you'd like to do is I am going to just remove all distractions from your mind with each other. So what I invite each individual to do is just kind of come in close and then just start to scan the screen. I do this with my students too, you all. I do this with clients. Just scan the screen and just allow your eyes to connect with each person. Just look at each person and into their eyes. Just a nice little eye gaze for a second or two. It doesn't have to be long. And then you're just going to pause, just scanning. And then after completing that, I invite the group to just look at themselves in that picture that you have through Zoom or whatever modality you're connecting through. Just look at yourself. And we're going to stay here for 2 breaths. This is an activity that I have us do so that we can attune and connect with each other, just so that we can feel connected between these screens, right? The screens are in between us, but I try my best to attune and connecting with the people that I am in the session with. So as a leader, I take responsibility for that. So if you are not on the screen and you're actually in person, here's some activities to attune the room that I like to do no matter what. Sometimes I do these at the start of a session, sometimes I do them mid-session, or I do them at the end of the session. But one thing that we know is that, and I think I've done this with you all before, things that make you human. The moment that I invite you, I say, everybody, even if you do it at your table or with the large group, I'm inviting us to attune and then to practice this art of introspection, where we say 3 things that make us human. It allows us to pause, take a second to go in, and then just reflect. We get to practice a little reflection, and then in the sharing, we usually notice that there's somebody else that probably is thinking or said something like you. We also notice that somebody may have said something that you never thought about, but this art of introspection gets to be practiced, and that creates this attunement, that creates co-regulation between you and the individuals in the room. We're just practicing being, right? You all practicing being human. How do you come into this space is another activity that I do that helps people to connect to themselves and to become aware of the energy that they're bringing into the room. So my question to the group will be, okay, everyone, how do you come into this space? And a lot of times, if we have limited time, I would just either do 1 word or 6 words. And it's really funny because people will kind of start to count like, okay, I come into this space, or I feel good and happy. You know, they'll start counting to share how they come into the space. But that's one of the activities. And if I do the 1 word, I usually try to invite the whole group to share, how do I come into this space? And you just simply say, I come into this space tired, or I come into this space happy. It's just attuning us and informing us of where you are. But it also calls you to take a look at you. It calls you to go inward and practice the art of introspection, right, you all? One of my other favorites that I like to do is I like to bring the playfulness back to us, depending on what kind of session it is, but that I'll do name speed. So if it's the first time with the group and I don't know this group, and I may be leading a session with someone, with a group of people, and I don't necessarily know them, a fun way to connect and get to know each other is through name speed. And it kind of puts kind of a little challenge on it. So this is how we'll do that. Name speed is usually, I'll invite everybody to stand in a big circle. And we're standing in a circle, and then along the circle, I'm going to invite every person to go down the row around the circle and just say your name. The fun part of it is I'm going to bring my phone or whatever device I can with a timer, and we're going to start over here. We're going to go in order, and everybody's going to say their name as fast as they can. And I usually will say, you all think we can do this within 10 seconds? And you know, once you put a challenge on people, they're like, yeah, let's try it. And it creates a playful environment. It also helps to relax the stress response in our brain and attune us to each other. So actually, it's funny because I've done this activity with all ages, you all, and the age that usually wins is usually when I'm working with kindergartners and preschoolers. I don't know why, but they're just the quickest because they don't make a big deal about it. They just do it. It's usually the adults that I'm with that really take a long time because they're thinking about it. And so name speed is a fun way. And then usually I'll say, well, let's go a second round and see if we can do it even quicker. What strategies can we think of so that we can move around the room faster? So I'll invite everybody, give us a strategy. What's something we can do? And you know, everybody's thinking about it. They're like, oh, well, I'll look at the person next to me, or I'll just say my first initial, or I'll say my nickname, whatever it is to make the group go around quicker. So activities to attune is name speed is one of my favorite. Now, intuitive count is a tricky one. Usually I try to do this if I've been with the group for a while, but it's important to me that I let them know that I always want to be attuned and connected, and that we're all breathing together so that we can collectively move together in the group. So intuitive count is I bring us into a circle and usually try to do that. I've done it with, I don't know, 45, 60 people before actually. We're sitting in a circle, and in that circle, we all close our eyes. Now, we're not counting with the person next to each other, but anyone in the room can say a number. So if I have a circle of 10 people, we're closing our eyes and just seeing if we can feel the next person that's going to speak, or feel when it's our time to speak. So for example, I may just sit and wait, and somebody over on that side of the room said 1, and then we pause, and then someone over there said 2. And then I feel like my number is 3. So we're trying to intuitively read each other and co-regulate with each other so that we can get through counting. Everybody says a number, but we don't want to say it at the same time. So if two people say it at the same time, we usually start all over, which requires, once you say, okay, we're starting all over, it requires people to get even more quiet and sit in stillness so that they can really feel what's going on in the room. So activities to attune the room. So that's number 2. I introduced to you making your groundedness as large as possible for you, and then attuning the room. I'm going to keep paying attention to the time, you all, because I have so much more, but the time is running. So we all have the ability to message each other. That's what attuning is, magnetic energy. And we can send messages directly into our nervous system and communicate relationally. I repeat this over and over because I want you all to know that we all are co-regulating all the time. So brain waves. Narratives is the last thing that I like to do to attune the room. And I think I'm going to have us close out with this today. One of the things that I hope that you've gotten from this series is that we can connect and co-regulate through words and through stories, and narratives facilitate healing. I've talked about this before. And sometimes when you come into a session, a classroom, or a learning space, or a task space, when you come into that space, a lot of times we have our minds in other places. A lot of times our stress response is activated. When we come into the space as the leader, I want to facilitate a relaxation of the stress response and an activation of the relaxation response. And poems and readings are a beautiful way to just bring people in, close their eyes, and just listen. Another way to bring people in and connect is through stories. And a lot of times I'll have a book. Sometimes I'll have a book and I'll just read a page of the book. But usually, the more activated you can get people in regards to their senses, the more present that they can be. So usually if it's a story that's talking about, you know, a smell or something that you felt, or maybe the chair feels comfy and you kind of relax and soften yourself into it, or sounds, usually if you include a story that activates all the senses, that's a beautiful way to connect the group. Also music, a lot of times I'll start sessions with a song. It could be a song that's telling a story, or it could just be a song that's bringing us all here to notice our breath and to be present with each other. Another thing I like to do, you all, when I'm working with groups to bring us together, is funny videos. I love showing videos off YouTube of babies laughing. And then just, you know, just the idea of babies, like babies remind us of new beginnings, right? We all love babies. We get excited about babies, or even cute puppies. A lot of people like to watch videos of cute puppies. So those are the things that I like to do. If you were to use one of these techniques right now with the group that you were facilitating, I want to ask you all right now to give me a message, send me a chat. Which one of these do you think you would be most likely or prone to do, that you feel comfortable doing with your group? If you were teaching a class, facilitating a meeting, or even just connecting with a small group, what do you think you would be likely to do? Oh, music, yes. And some good songs, like that. Music speaks to our soul, right? So just using music to speak to our soul. Music would be a good choice. I like that. Stories or videos, yes. I have a, music, you all. Thank you so much. All of these. But right now, before we leave today, I want to actually have you experience one of my favorite readings. So on the next slide, I actually have the words up, but I'd like for you to close your eyes and listen to them, and I'm going to read them to you. I want you to imagine that we're all in a group together. Imagine that I am the person that's facilitating the group, and you are there as a participant. So everybody find a comfortable position in your chair, please. Allow yourself to roll your shoulders back and down. Close your eyes so that you can see and just notice your breath. And then I just want you to listen. Just listen to my voice. And this reading I love, is one of my favorite readings. The supreme prayer of my heart is not to be rich, famous, powerful, or too good, but to be radiant. I desire to radiate health, calm, courage, cheerfulness, and goodwill. I wish to live without hate, whim, jealousy, envy, or fear. I wish to be simple, honest, frank, natural, clean in mind, and clean in body. Unaffected, ready to say, I do not know, if so it be. To meet all men and women and they on an absolute equality. To face any obstacle and meet every difficulty unabashed and unafraid. I wish others to live their lives too, up to their fullest and best. To that end, I pray that I may never meddle, interfere, dictate, give advice that is not wanted, or assist when my services are not needed. If I can help people, I will do it by giving them a chance to help themselves first. If I can uplift or inspire, let it be by example rather than by injunction and dictation. That is to say, I desire to be radiant, to radiate life. And if your eyes are still closed, I want you to continue and pause. I want to invite you to let that download. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your attention back to the screen. So I usually always offer a time to download, whether it's midway through the session, depending on the time, or if it's at the end. So here's an opportunity. Here's an example where I would just say, let's pause and just let it download. Oh, thank you. That was beautiful. Yes. I need to share with you who the author is because I have it. I actually have that, or you can just Google it. It's called The Radiant Prayer. That's one of my favorite readings. And I usually do that. And a lot of times I'll even invite the group. I'll say, okay, everyone, what did you get from that? Can you share something that came up for you as I was reading it, or maybe something stuck out to you? And that's an opportunity to just take everybody in and let everybody be in the present moment. Thank you. So here I have some of my favorite books, you all, that I've read within the past year. I read books like constantly. So here are some of my favorite books. And I chose these books in particular, the narratives, Relaxed Stress Response, Internal Relaxation Response. I chose these books in particular because they're written by such a diverse group of people. And the topics include diverse groups of people. So you have The Richard Power Story is a biracial man. The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar I'm saying it incorrectly, is a Dominican Republic author. He's from the Dominican Republic. Ta-Nehisi Coates is an African-American male. Southernmost is a story about a relationship of two individuals who identify as gay or on the LGBTQIA. Funny and Farsi is about an Iranian girl. And then Sherman Alexi's book is about indigenous male who grew up in the Northwest. So all these books are books that give us an opportunity to have a perspective and to hear from people that may not look like us or may have different walks of life than us, right? Another way to relax the stress response and turn on the relaxation response. Oh, yes. Oh, Tiffany, I always have book suggestions. If I can even bring next session, I can bring you a whole list and post here, okay? So these are just some of the books that, like, I don't know, within the last 100 books that I've read, these are some of the books that I read this year. And then I want to end with this, you all, the power of the breath. The power of the breath, at any time you can come back to the breath when you're with the group. Research has shown that when we sing together, our hearts beat together. And I believe the same thing to be true for when we breathe together. So you think about the heart, and the beating of the heart is related to just the pace of our breath, the pace of our inhale and our exhale. So when we synchronize that, when we attune that to each other, when we ground with our breath, we have to be connected. I just think that helps to bring everybody and their hearts beating in one space. And to me, that is also a reflection of the universe. That to me is a reflection of the divine. So the power of the breath, if nothing else, back to your breath, go back to the breath. If it seems like things are getting unsettled in the group, you can just say, hey, I want to stop here, everyone. And let's just take a collective sigh out where you just inhale and just go, oh, it's 2 o'clock anyway. It just said it was unstable. So hopefully you all can still hear me. Unsettled people. And I'm going to close this out with an opportunity for you to use this information and let it download for the rest of your day. I'm looking forward to next week and being with you all. But you all have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. Have a wonderful Friday, and I will have a stable internet connection next week. Take care.